Alright, so what we're going to try to do here is demonstrate the setup of the last Amos model I did in class. I was able to show you all the point and clicks in PowerPoint, but I really think it's most helpful when we demonstrate each step. So I've taken this Amos graphics program and I've created a shortcut on my desktop, but many of you may just get it here through the Start menu, Amos, and then Amos Graphics. So I'll double click that. And what you see here is the default window. I'm going to full screen that. Okay, so now we have more to see. And one of the things I didn't show you in class, but right now, as you can sort of get a sense of from the middle of the screen, is that the default setup for the Amos graphics model is portrait, but very often it's actually helpful to have it in landscape. So if you want it in landscape, what you'll do is view set interface properties. And one of your options is to go down here, click landscape. And now your modeling tool fills more of the whole screen. Okay, so the first thing we have to do is open the data set. And we're going to do that. This is the same example I looked at in class. We're going to do that under the File menu with Data Files. Okay, and file name is class 11, which for this example I've stored on the hard drive. So there's class 11. Open it. And what you can do again is you look at the screen, you can verify that this seems to contain data that Amos can read. And sure enough, as you can see here, this seems to have 2,478 subjects in it. That's the right number, and that tells you that Amos is in the right data file. So we hit OK. And now the data set is here and ready to use. So the first thing I'm going to do is open up the variables in the data set and quickly build my model again. And Amos 5 is already a step more flexible than the Amos 4 I used in my class demonstration, so I think it'll already be more helpful to you. So under View Set, Variables in Data Set, click it. And now, as you see here, the variables in data set box is open. Now, one thing you'll notice here over to the right, where I have my cursor, the tools are already illuminated. The palette is there. So unlike the class example where I had to actually search for them here under Tools, I don't need to do that. That's here. Okay. So what I'm going to quickly do is drag my 6 variables over into the data set. And then we'll worry about how to place them next. And what you can already see, I think, before I even do anything, that this later version of Amos is smarter, and it sized the boxes just right to accommodate the variable labels. So that's very useful. Now, one problem with the way that it's done it, however, is that they're pretty long variable labels. And once you start to get with bigger models that have more variables on them, this becomes pretty unwieldy in size. So going forward, we may need to do some playing around with variable names, or we may need to alter the size boxes. So let's say, for example, just for a minute, that I wanted this HVLT box to be a little bit bigger. So then what I would do is go over here to the Select tool, the finger, and select it. And then go over here to the Drag tool, this one. And now once you've got the Drag tool, it lets you drag the box longer, wider, taller, shorter, whatever you want to do. So for now, what I'm going to do is just sort of try to keep it at the same ratio as some of the other boxes. Okay? All right, now I'm ready to turn off that tool. And now I'm ready to do like I did in the class example, array the 3 memory boxes so they're adjacent, and then 3 reasoning boxes. So I'm going to hit my moving truck. All right, and then I'm going to take this box and move it here. I'm going to take the AVLT. Once it becomes red, I can drag it and move it right next door. And I'm going to take the river meat and I'm going to drag it right next door. Alright, now I'm going to take the letter sets and put it down here. I'm going to take the letter series and put it right next door. And finally the word series. Okay. And then I find it's too far to the left of the screen, so I'm going to quickly hit my little pointer. I'm going to highlight all 3 of these. I'm also going to unhighlight this one. And then I'll hit my moving truck and just center these more on the screen. Good to go. Okay, I can turn off the moving truck. Now what I'm going to do is define the uniquenesses for each of these indicators. Okay, so this is the uniqueness tool again. I'll hit that, and I'll click each of these uniquenesses. Now I'm going to do the same down here, and just like in class example, the uniquenesses kind of irritatingly are on the top of the box, which means they're going to be in the way. So is there a way to do this better so that they're at the bottom of the box? And the answer is yes. I'm just going to take this uniqueness tool, and I'll turn it off, and keep clicking on box. Now look, I click once, it goes to the upper left. Click twice, it goes to the right. Click third time, went to the upper right. Third time, it goes to the lower right. Fourth time, it's at the bottom, which is where I want it. So I'll do the same thing here. Click once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, and there it is. And once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, and there it is. Alright, so now what we have is the uniquenesses in the right place. Now we have to name them, okay? Now, naming them is not totally straightforward in the sense that, I'm having a little microphone problem here, in the sense that you have to click on each one and rename it. So let me turn off the uniqueness tool. Now, let me show you what I did in class. So in class, what I did was position my cursor over the uniqueness, right-click, and go to Object Properties, and then I named it U1. Close it, and there it is. Okay, so that is one pretty straightforward way of naming the uniquenesses. Now, another way of naming uniquenesses, I'm going to go back in here and turn this off. Okay, is to use a utility that will name all the uniquenesses for you at once. You lose some control, but it really doesn't matter. So Tools, where is it? Now I have to find it. Okay. So there's a tool that exists in later versions of Amos that apparently doesn't exist in this student version. Interesting. Let me just check under macro. There it is. It's in the root menu for later versions of Amos. So if you go to macro, you'll notice that one of the macros is name unobserved variables and name observed variables. Okay, now, or resize observed variables. Name unobserved variables is latent variables, things that aren't measured. Now, there's two kinds of unobserved variables. There's factors and there's uniquenesses. Well, we haven't drawn any factors yet, so we can use this name unobserved variables to name the uniquenesses. So I'm going to click it, and there it goes. It names them. Now, it happened to name them E's, and I think, let me just check. Yeah, in the later versions of Amos, you get some control over that. As you know, I tend to like to call them U's, and get that control in the later versions of Amos. But still, it saved us having to click each one of the 6 and name. And you'll notice that these path coefficients of 1 from the uniqueness to the indicator are named automatically. All right, now we need to name the two, create, name, and draw the lines for the 2 factors. Okay, so we're going to take the circle tool, and we'll click it once. Oh, I guess we need to drag it. Okay, there we go. And another one. Okay, I'm just going to hit the moving tool to move this one up just a little. Okay, turn off the moving tool. And now I'm going to quickly name these. So right-click, Object Properties, Memory, and right-click, Object Properties, Reasoning. And there we go. Now we have our factors. Now what we need to do is define our loading lines. So there are 3. And as we said, because we're going to use the factors as predictors of the indicators, we'll draw the lines from the factors to the indicators. And you see you've hit your target when they turn red, or in this case they turn white. Okay. Now we've got our paths drawn. So there's actually just a couple steps left. First thing we have to do is scale the solution. And I suggested that the way I'm going to do it is by arbitrarily creating 1 loading per factor at 1. So I'm going to right click